Hello, everyone. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. Today on our show, we are going to have Eric. Eric is from the USA, but he lives in Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. So let's see what Eric has to say. Enjoy the interview.
Rotate my screen. There you go. How you doing?
I'm very well. How are you doing today?
I'm feeling a little sick today, actually. So you got me on a day where I'm kind of meh, but otherwise good.
What happened?
Oh, Carnival happened. You go about kissing a lot of people. You get the kennel cough.
But are you okay for the interview?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, amazing. So tell me, where are you from, Eric?
I'm from the US, all over. I've lived in, I think, 13 different states. And I feel like I'm from all of them. So when people ask, they go, "No, where were you born?" And I said, I don't know that place. We lived there for 3 months and left. So I've spent a lot of time in Texas, a lot of time in California, but Hawaii, Portland, Oregon, all over the place.
I see. But right now, I know you are in Brazil right now, but do you have a place where you live in the US right now or not?
My mailing address is in Hawaii.
Amazing. So tell me, I know you are on holidays in Brazil right now, on vacation. So tell me.
No, I live here.
Ah, you live in Brazil?
Yes, I live in Rio de Janeiro.
Oh my God, I thought you were on vacation, I thought.
No, I'm sitting up in my house in Santa Teresa.
Oh, amazing. So how long have you been living in Rio for so far?
1 year. 1 year.
1 year? And why Rio de Janeiro?
It's one of the most exciting cities I've lived in, and it strikes a lot of chords in me. I love waterfalls, I love jungles, I love antique squares and cities. I love history. I love beautiful views. I love music. It's just so many chords it strikes in me. And I love cities that are just beautiful. I mean, Rio is absolutely beautifully situated on the land.
I'm originally from Mato Grosso, Northwest, but in 2007, I lived in Rio for a few months, like during the Carnival, during this time as well. I was there for 6 months. And it was one of the best experiences I had in my life, for sure.
Oh, good. Mato Grosso, that's where the critters are big.
Mato Grosso, yes. We have the Pantanal. It's a great area. It's a great state. Eric, tell me, what do you do for a living, for work?
I'm a coach. I talk to people for a living.
So tell me a little bit about your journey, your job.
Oh, well, I've been doing this for, I think now 13 years officially. I came to this, I mean, as a kid, I tried to hypnotize my dad at the age of 7. So I've always been interested in the psyche. And I went to school for it, but I also ended up taking a different pursuit. Like I went into computers, and I went into art, I went to politics, and I went into all these different professions and careers. And then I decided to really focus on art for a while, and I was photographing people, spending a lot of time with them, kind of unlocking them. That when you sit down with a person and they're a little grumpy and they want a nice picture, you have to psychologically open them up somewhat. And at some point, someone said, "You should just do this," and I finally said, "Okay, I'm going to just do this. I'm going to try this." And it turned out to be great. But the photography was really great teaching for me, because I had 500, 600 images of a person frozen. And I could look photo by photo at their eyes. I could look at their expressions. I could remember what they said. And it really gave me a keen empathic training, because I had these still images to train my eye. Excuse me. So that's how I got into it. And, and just different teachers, different masters. I apprenticed with a lot of people along the way. Yeah. So 13 years later, it's been nice, because I have a very mobile lifestyle. I work in Rio. I talk on the phone. I'm often working in a hammock at the beach.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Right, Eric, before we start our journey within the Magic Box, I would like you to tell me something interesting about yourself.
Something interesting. Well, I think of myself like a wizard, you know. I part of my practice is helping people turn a concept or an idea that comes from their inner being into a physical manifestation.
Mhm.
So that leads to a lot of fun adventures. You know, my life is very magical that way. Like every day, my life like it's completely different from the next day, because I'm not attached to identity so much. And I'm willing to experiment. I'm willing to follow my intuition, and that ends up taking me on just a really different journey every day. You know.
Amazing. Right. Are you ready to go on a beautiful journey through your memories in life and to share your point of views?
Okay. All right. Is that what's in the magic box?
Amazing. Welcome to William and the Magic Box. So this is my best friend, okay? For the fun questions, I'm just gonna play a song now just for us to relax a bit before the first question, okay?
Okay.
Let's do it. Great. Eric, before we start doing the journey, if comes up a question that you don't want to talk about for some reason, you don't want to answer, always can change, okay?
Okay.
First question for you is, who is the most influential person in your life?
Current living or in the past?
Let's put both ways.
Okay. Most influential. I think like past, my grandpa, hands down. Like he was the most similar to me. So he gave me the biggest imprint.
And
you know, he was an entrepreneur. He traveled the world. He liked to dabble in magical communities. You know, just there's a lot of likeness. And now as I'm older and older, I sound more and more like him.
When you think about him, what's the best memory that comes to your mind?
I remember he bought a lake house, and I mean, just like in a day, you know, like one day he saw this lake house, and within a day he owned the house. He moved very decisively, and it was over the water, and there was this hornet's nest over the water that was hanging off the bedroom that was over the water. And I remember watching him in a bass boat. He put a bass boat and then put a ladder in the bass boat, you know, like a very shallow, small boat. And he's standing on this tall ladder trying to reach the hornet's nest and like hitting it with a broom. And I just couldn't believe, you know, he's like, well, why not? Let's just do it this way, you know, like, let's try to solve problems. Safety third. And, you know, I definitely adopted that somewhat in my life too. Just like whatever's expedient, go for it.
Amazing. Very good.
Do you hear the sounds of Rio, like the vegetable truck?
No, I cannot hear, no.
Oh, okay.
Next one. Next question for you is, who do you count the most for help?
I would say definitely my partner Nielson. He's just, you know, he's like, we're a team. You know, he's always helping me in whatever I can do. He's very invested in me. I'm very invested in him. It's a two-way street on that, for sure. I mean, like 1,000 times more than anybody else right now.
Is he Brazilian?
Yeah, he's Cariocan.
Carioca. Amazing. And how did you guys meet up?
He was standing on the street corner. He was like, it was near Popeye's, right up Ipanema Beach. And I think I'd actually seen him on Instagram before I even moved to Brazil. And I recognized him. I walked up to him and said, Nielson? And he said, like, he was surprised I knew his name. And then he recognized me. And the next thing I knew, we were hugging. And we didn't stop hugging for 3 days. We were just embracing on the sidewalk for 3 hours. And then we went back to my place. We were still embracing, as you can imagine. And that was that. And then I was moving around a lot, and he was coming with me. You know, I was staying in a lot of Airbnbs, and we just started traveling together. And the next thing I know, it's a year and 2 months later.
Oh, wow. Saying that so far, what's the biggest similarity between both of you and the biggest difference?
Between both of us, um, I would say we both like to dance in the streets and have fun. You know, we both have a big smile. We know how to tune into some good energy and just bring it through. Difference, I mean, you know, like we're the cultural difference between American and Brazilian is vast. You know, like my family heritage versus his family heritage. We have very different ways of approaching things. You know, I've spent a lot of great time with his family, but it's really different than my upbringing. You know, and he thinks about things differently. You know, and I mean, so many that I don't know if I could give it any specific thing, but you're really clear, you know, that there's a big cultural difference.
Absolutely. All right. Next question. Let's do it. Before the next question, tell me, as you mentioned about how much you enjoy being a coach, yeah? Tell me the flip side. What's the most challenging part, in your opinion?
Right now, the most challenging thing is that I have lived in Brazil and I've lived in Turkey and I've lived in Greece. And the time zone difference is the hardest thing because often I'm talking to people till 2 a.m. And that just wears on me sometimes, like staying up late. Everything else is enjoyable. Even the most challenging clients. You know, I've had people call me from a mid-fight with their partner in the middle of their bedroom, and one of them's holding the phone and the other one's yelling and screaming, and I'm still able to be there with them and understand what they're saying. That stuff's easy. The hardest part is staying up late, really.
And are you planning to stay in Brazil for a long period?
Yeah, it's a good home base. Yeah, it's a huge country. It's like discovering the United States all over again. You know, it's got all of these little states, and each one has its different ecosystem and biome and culture, and it's very easy for me to be happily exploring this country for a long time. And I think Rio is a great place to be based out of, you know, and the state of Rio is wonderful too. Like I love you know, I travel a lot, so sometimes I'm not in Rio, I'm in Búzios or I'm in Belo Horizonte, and each place feels like a little bit of my home.
I see. All right. Next question is, what is something not many people know about you?
I mean, I think, like I said, I don't know. It's something that not many people know about me. I mean, I think it's the way I work with something that may be unique about me is the way I explore reality. You know, I'm feeling all my choices energetically as I move through life. And that leads to a really almost like psychedelic experience sometimes. You know, like reality changes very quickly, and I think some people don't really know how weird that can be. You know, how like they're used to their routines, and I have routines too, but also a lot of my life does not look anything like a routine. Like one day does not look like the next. So, but I don't know. I don't know if that's something that people don't know about me, but I don't know if people realize how weirdly I can move through reality sometimes.
There we go. That's something interesting and unique about yourself.
There we go. Cue the music.
Next one. Right. Next question for you is, what was the worst foot-and-mouth moment?
Worst what?
Foot-and-mouth moment. Like what? You said foot-and-mouth. You know this expression?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've had so many of them. I remember one year when I was a kid, I was a Boy Scout, and I was in church, and they said, "Hey, can all the Girl Scouts stand up for Girl Scout Sunday?" And my friend was like, "Stand up, Eric, it's Scout Sunday." And I stood up, and I was like the only guy standing up for Girl Scout Sunday. And I remember that was kind of funny. Also, like, you know, as a gay man, you tend to be on dating apps and things like that, right? And you tend to be sending photos here and there, and, you know, And once I accidentally sent one of the photos that was meant for some hunky guy to one of my clients. And that was a real embarrassing moment. That was a real embarrassing moment. But she stayed working with me, you know, it came out okay. But that was that felt like a real foot in the mouth kind of moment. Or at least a dick in the mouth moment.
Tell me something. How was growing up as a gay boy back in the US?
Well, different pockets, it was harder and easier. When I was in Texas, it was much more challenging because I was growing up from like, you know, I was aware of my sexuality starting in like the early 90s. Maybe like middle school, there was an inkling, and then really coming to terms with it in high school. But then I was living in Germany because my stepdad was in the military. And I found that those schools, you had a lot of really open-minded kids there because people were from all over the country. You had New Yorkers, Californians, everybody. And so it was a little bit easier to explore that side of me. And then I came back to Texas and it was like, oof, you know, it was very, very challenging. There was one other bi kid in my high school. And I think I was on the buy now, gay later plan, you know, where you come out as bi and then not really, just I'm gay. So you try to kind of get your footing in that department. And I found friends, you know, like my friends were very, you know, as I revealed myself to them, they were very sweet. My best friend who was straight would actually cuddle with me, you know. He was very understanding. I was finally, my first real sexual experience was my best friend's Brazilian foreign exchange student and I like just got it on like right after senior graduation, and that was like my first romance. So it was nice it was very cool to have all that experience before the age of 18. Got me warmed up for when I went to college, and then it was just, you know, college was like a whole nother level of experience.
I think this contact with the Brazilian guy was an open door for you to be where you right now, somehow.
Yes, yes. I need to look him up. My goodness. I just remember his name was Will from Brazil.
Next one, Eric, let's do it. Before the next question, tell me, what do you like the most about living in Brazil? And also tell me, when you arrived there for the first time, what's something that you went like, oh my God, that's something different or interesting, something like that I never seen before or appreciate, or something that happened to you when you arrived for the first time?
Wait, the first question again was, what do I...
Yeah, like the most of being in Brazil, living there.
Oh, okay. So I would say when I first arrived in Brazil, I landed in Sao Paulo. And the first thing I noticed was what a forest, what a complete jungle there was on the sidewalk of the street. You know, you have these very modern buildings, you know, like high rises, very kind of, you know, in Sao Paulo, it's very modern and kind of almost commercial looking. But yet, as boring as the buildings might have been, these amazing trees were just like, blah, you know, just dancing on the street. And as I explored more and more of the city, it was like an urban jungle. It was really amazing. And same thing in Rio now. Like Rio, it's even more so in some ways because you have these mountains with big green jungles on top of them. Well, that and the endless buildings in Sao Paulo, like I've never seen so many endless building. It was a city without any end, you know, and that I'd never quite seen something like that. And I've been in a lot of cities around the world. That really got to me. I think the best thing about Brazil is that it kind of reminds me of living in Hawaii. You can walk around in flip-flops and board shorts and never feel underdressed. You know, you feel like you can be wearing the most comfortable or barely any clothing whatsoever, and you just blend in because everyone's right on the same vibe. So there's kind of an air of easygoingness. People are I'd say people are relaxed. They're excitable, they're passionate, but they have an easygoing nature to them. You know, they they don't find confrontation and being upset like a thing that they want to pursue. You know, they're not guarding their boundaries quite as much. That being said, like Brazilians will kind of intrude on your boundaries more than anybody else. You know, like they're like right in there.
We are very curious.
Yes.
We are very curious. We like to explore. We are very curious about things. Why is this way? You kind of, you know, just get into sometimes. You kind of we cross the you know the line sometimes. You know,
Yes.
for foreign people, they go like, oh my God, that's very personal. That's something that's you know. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the medicine for me was just this easygoingness, this joie de vivre, the desire. Even if you don't have 20 cents in your banking account, you can still have a good time. You can still relax, cut loose, enjoy life, and I think that's good medicine. You know, something I don't find quite as strong in other cultures.
Absolutely. I think I always tell my you know my friends, European friends or people other friends from other part of the world. I tell them, look, for us a problem, it's like something that you cannot solve at all. It's something that's wow. But you know, some of my friends, they see problem, it's a little thing. I get, my God, it's not a problem for me. That's something that you can solve just like that. We approach a different way, like different kind of problems.
Yes.
I feel like going to Brazil now after this conversation. Right, this question is going to be very easy for you. Where is the most exotic place have you ever been?
The most exotic place? Exotic place.
Yeah.
I would say probably Bora Bora. You know, I mean, you know, Bora Bora is like exotic in the sense like it's a super vacation destination. I wouldn't say it's my favorite place I've been. You know, some places feel like that is an Instagram exotic experience. Another version of exotic experience would be a place that feels incredibly authentic, you know, like so different and unique from Western, you know, like American culture. And I would say some of the little farm villages in central Turkey, you know, with, you know, people are still hoeing with like handmade wooden instruments. They're still tilling fields with that. Little towns still have the old Roman bridge. You know, it's just time worn, but literally that's how they get across the river, is the old weather worn Roman bridge. They're just temples sitting in the middle of farm fields. And I mean, that's pretty extraordinary, you know, to see that. It's so different from what I'm used to.
All right. Next question.
Okay.
Next question is, what was your favorite part about school?
Art class, and second best would be history.
Wow.
Hands down.
Did you like school as a child?
Yeah, I was a good student. You know, like I had a lot of teachers dote on me. You know, like I feel school was pretty easy, especially early on. I think puberty gets in the way of school at some point. So, you know, high school social expression gets in the way of school at some point, because that becomes a real interesting subject. But yeah, schools, I always had great teachers, teachers that invested time in me. I was really curious. So the teachers loved talking to me, and it's like the internet. Like if you really ask a lot of questions, you get a lot more information. So I think school is like that for me.
Right. I have 3 questions left for you. Let's do it, Eric.
All right, go for it.
Before the next question, as you are a coach and also a healer, yeah, I'm sure you deal with a lot of energies, yeah, a lot, like from your clients, from people that you work with. Tell me something. Do you find like a mechanism for you to kind of block some negativity, you know, some energy that is not welcome to you? There's a way that you find to block, not to bring this energy to your personal life?
I would probably describe it differently as blocking. I mean, I think what I do is I really ground, first of all, into the earth. So if there's excess information that doesn't really resonate with me, I'm letting it flow through me. I'm not trying to erect an impediment to it, but I'm not enlisting in it. I'm not enrolling in it. You know, I feel like people will present you with reflections of yourself, though it's like a buffet, you know, and some things are tasty and your soul says, yes, this is me. Like they offered me good information, and some things your soul's like, I don't think that's me, you know? And then sometimes things are a little in between, where a person is offering you a reflection, and if you but it's really dirty reflection. And if you clean it off and you do a little algebra, you kind of say, okay, he's projecting somewhat, he's angry somewhat, he's frustrated with this and this, I'm standing in for his dad. And when you kind of do the calculus, you can sometimes find the kernel of truth that's useful, you know. But I also assume that people are kind of divine, not kind of, they are divine in their expression, and even in an expression that's aggravated or doesn't feel good still has a spark of the universe in it. And if you can see that in the person's expression, you can kind of call that out of them, and you don't have to spend so much time blocking them. You can just be with them wherever they're at and not feel heavy by it, you know. It really helps to be anchored in yourself, to be balanced in yourself. Then you're not falling forward into someone's opinion of you, and then you're like a boat that's upright with a good keel. You know, you can float in very rocky waters, but still feel like sound.
I see. All right. Next question is, this one you talk about already, it's going to be easy for you to answer. Who was your favorite teacher, and why did you consider that?
Who was my favorite teacher? Oh my God, I've had so many good ones. I think like I've had so many good ones. I would say one of them, his name was Randy David. When I lived in San Francisco, he had a magic shop called the Sword and Rose. And I was learning different magical arts at the time. And this little shop, it was so tiny, like maybe 2 or 3 people could fit in it at once. Had a little pot-bellied fireplace, 2 velvet chairs by the fireplace. And my training was just coming, you know, once a week and sitting by the fire with him. And he would give me his attention sometimes, or he would be helping other customers, but he would always look over the customers at me because he was also talking to me. And I'd be there for hours, you know, hours on hours. This was 7 years of this. And so, you know, he took me through, he took me through the mystical side of the Bible. He took me through Egyptian lore. He took me through reading through archetypes and working with the collective unconscious. You know, it was just such a diverse education, and it lasted for 7 years. And it was so delicious, you know, to go to this little magic shop, sit there by the fire. I mean, it's so memorable. It's so cinematic, you know. Since then, I've had many other great teachers, but he was one that was just like, he passed on recently, maybe a couple of years back. And it was just amazing to get to experience him when he was there.
Wow. Amazing. 2 questions left. Let's do it.
You Brazilian dancing. Imagine that.
Yes, Brazil. It's Brazil. I miss going to Brazil. Right. Before the next question, as you mentioned, I could see how much you love being Brazil. You know, you can find some, a special place for you to be. But tell me so far, what has been the most challenging part?
Of being in Brazil?
Yeah.
I would say with Brazil, it's actually been pretty easy, but I think one of the more challenging parts of Brazil is that you deal with a lot of different layers of having and not having, especially in Rio. And, you know, you can feel yourself living the high life. You know, there's places to spend lots of money and have a very jet set life. And also on the way to have breakfast in the morning, you may encounter 4 or 5 people who have absolutely nothing, you know, asking for either money or food or even even like a Salgado and a Coke. And it, you know, so I think being confronted with that, and there's a sort of intrusiveness, like there's a lot of hungry mouths. And so people are asking all the time, you know, for things. But at the same time, especially because of the exchange rate, it's very easy to be generous with people. You know, it doesn't take much of a dent out of anything to like, sometimes there'll be people camped out in front of the bank, you know, and I'll go to the store and buy 5 salgados and some, you know, some guaraviton and you know, and there's like 4 breakfasts and people are super happy and it only cost me like $5, you know, and that feels great. You know, that feels great. So I think like being in Brazil, the challenge is you have to learn how to say no brigado, you know, like no thank you, because people are often trying to sell you things or asking for things. People are presenting you with their misery, but at the same time, you can kind of alchemize that. It's a wonderful opportunity to express generosity, to express the feeling of helping, and it's gotten a lot easier, you know, in the time that I've been here. I've become more graceful with it. You don't always know what to do with it when it comes at you, you know.
I totally understand your point, and sometimes as well, sometimes you feel like, as you said, it's difficult to say no, and you get touched by somehow. You get touched because you know it's a real need. You know what I mean? They are not asking for you know, to spend money on something else. They are hungry, and they need something. And sometimes you get touched. Sometimes you feel like, okay, I can help until a certain point. You know what I mean? And after when you go like, oh my God, it's it can be you confront yourself sometimes. You know what I mean? It's a bit it's a bit hard and difficult. Even for Brazilian people, for example, when I lived in Rio as well, I had the same feeling as well. Even as a Brazilian person, I remember I was there. I was like, oh my God, that's, you know, if I could have helped, if I couldn't, I felt touched by it, and I felt, you know, sad somehow. I felt like, you know. Anyways, it's just who lives there can understand that. Like we spend some time as a tourist to have an idea, but when you live there, I think that's where, when you get it, you understand the feelings, you know, behind it. That's what I
yes.
Okay.
Or you feed 3 people and a 4th person then comes up and you're like, I've already fed 3 people. Like, you know, okay, I'll feed you 2.
You made me remember, we have a saying in Brazil. We have the thing about Brazilian people, where we can sleep 3 people, can sleep 5. Where we can feed 3 people, can feed 5 at the same time.
So true.
We have this approach. We have this approach for us, as people say here. People they say, William, if I start talking to a Brazilian person, after 5 minutes, I feel like we are best friends, because we have this approach, we have this openness, you know, about people. We love people. I think we are very curious. As you said, back to the conversation before, we can cross the line sometimes, but we are curious. And you know, they call gringo, the foreign people. They call gringo here, gringo there. And I think at first you find you know, interesting, funny, and you know, but when you live there, you can see the controversy, you know, behind it, and that's when you get touched.
I would say the other thing that's challenging is there are all these very magical landscapes, you know, like the favelas. They're on these hills and these mountains, and the other challenge is feeling called to explore them, because they look so fascinating, but also being street smart and knowing where to go, where not to go. And that's another challenge for me, because I want to explore everything. If it looks cool, I want to walk through it. And that hasn't always been the best idea here.
Right. Next question is, what is one movie you could watch over and over again?
One movie?
Yeah.
I mean, I'd say the one that I have watched over and over and over again would be Howl's Moving Castle by Miyazaki.
Tell me why.
It's, you know, it's about getting older. So it has all these beautiful lessons about that, but it also has all these demonstrations of magic and the practicality of magic. Like, one of my favorite quotes that really affected me is when she's cleaning up this magic castle, and she's an old woman. She's actually a young woman who's been cursed to be an old woman. And she's cleaning up, and she's moving everyone's stuff around, and they're like, wow, why are you moving my stuff? And she's like, I'm the worst kind of witch, the kind that cleans. And I realized I've had so much cleaning magic in my life. Like, there've been so many times I walk into a person's house and I start to clean and I start to put things in order, and it has like a major effect on their life. And the movie is full of great little nuggets of wisdom like that. It's also absolutely visually stunning because there are these moments when the walking house sits down in a bucolic mountain landscape that I've been in before. I know how beautiful those landscapes are, and the movie captures these kind of moments so beautifully. So it's a beautiful movie. It's also an anti-war movie, which I'm an anti-war kind of person. And it has all these great little nuggets about magic, but in a very practical form, like things that people don't consider magic, but that really truly are magic.
Question for you, Eric. As you mentioned about your journey as a wizard and all about magic, are you part of the witchcraft community as well or not?
I'm more loosely associated with them now. I mean, I feel like I'm a spiritual tourist. That's a better way to say it. I have been in a coven. I have been in many different spiritual communities. Some of them Indian in nature, like in Native American, some of them like from the continent of India. I mean, from the country of India.
Yeah.
Currently, while I'm in Brazil, I'm exploring candomblé, and going to those ceremonies and sort of tuning in to artists and people who are in that spectrum. When I was in Greece, I was studying. I went deep into the mythology of the Greek mythology and visited, the cave where Zeus was born, and I really got into it. So for me, it's part of if you're interested in sociology, then you're interested in mythology. If you're interested in philosophy, then it's very easy to be interested in the philosophical underpinnings behind different spiritual systems. And so I just immerse myself. I go for it. I have lots of friends. I have people who are into voodoo. I have people who are into ceremonial magic. I have people who are into Celtic magic. I have people who are into, if you've ever been to a wizard convention, like there's some wizard conventions in the United States that are really amazing. Wow. Depending on which hotel room you enter, and you're in a completely different magical system. Here's the Celtic people worshiping the Dagda, and here's next door a bunch of like women in red doing Sanskrit, incantations, and I've just had a lot of time to explore as much as I can get my hands on.
Amazing. It's very interesting saying that. And no, I'm just asking you that because actually I never heard before about this community witchcraft since when I started doing the show, and I had a few guests on the show that not long ago I had a lovely guy from San Francisco, and he's part of the community since he was like a teenager, and he talks very openly about it. And I just was curious when you mentioned about your your journey as spiritual. You're such a open-minded person, so I got a bit curious now.
I lived in San Francisco for 10 years, and that's where I first got my feet wet in witchcraft. Wow. And yeah, it's a great, there's a lot of people experimenting with a lot of things in California.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now I'm kind of more into Christian mysticism. I really enjoy, there's some channelers and teachers that I've enjoyed where, I don't know, it kind of integrates all the other things,
It's being open-minded. You are open to, for information, for knowledge, for adventure, for different concepts about, anything about, mystical things, or I think that's what's fascinating. And I found very interesting. You are visiting the candomblé, you are visiting different things, the Christian, like this area is part of Brazil. And I think it's fascinating. You just gained information and knowledge. And I think that's amazing to see. For the last one.
Do we have another song?
Yes, let's do it. But before the last question, as I just mentioned now that you're very open-minded, and you've been exploring a lot of areas regarding spiritualism or religions or other aspects. For you, before the last question, what's the meaning of life for you, Eric?
Real simple one. The meaning of life. It's 42. I mean, the meaning of life for me is, I think the meaning of life is a constant unfolding of meaning, because just as soon as you lock on to one thing, something new is coming through, and I some of the meaning of life is not being too attached to any snapshots of yourself, who you were in time, to enjoy it as it comes, but to also allow yourself to release the identity, to release the name and the title. And because you could spend 40 years being one thing, or you could spend 40 years being a different thing every day. And I'm a little bit more on that end of the spectrum. Like, I do have consistencies, but I also, I'm trying not to be attached to any one thing, because one day I'm a teacher, one day I'm a healer, one day I'm a dad, one day I'm an uncle, one day I'm a badass, one day I'm a quiet dormouse, and just letting those different archetypes come through, sometimes several different types in a day, and letting the different expressions through. I think the meaning of life was we all are connected, and as we tune into that, like, the magic starts from that perspective. And we're learning how to collaborate together. We're learning how to be attuned to each other, and that creates this amazing feedback in the universe. Nothing's like static. We're all learning from each other. We're all putting our spirits together and creating the next version, and I think that's an amazing thing to be in the flow of.
All right. Last question. Sorry?
And also 42. From the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, they discovered the meaning of life. It was 42.
There you go. Last question for you is, what is the scary thing that happened to you?
What is a scary thing?
That happened to you?
I've had lots of really scary things happen to me, but I'd say most recently, the one that really got me, my partner has warned me not to walk through the favelas, but I do anyway. I'm like, because I've walked through rough neighborhoods all over the planet, and I have a certain kind of confidence about that, maybe some street smart. But it was kind of early being in Brazil, and I didn't have a whole lot of competency with Portuguese. And there's this one, I live up in Santa Teresa, and the road goes up towards Cristo Redentor, the beautiful Christ on the hill. And there is a community that sits like at the crest of the mountain. It's so magnificent. It looks like an ancient Greek village because it just sort of cascades down this very, very steep slope. And I said, I have to go explore that. So here I am, walking through these little back corners, these staircases, finding secret gardens and murals. It's very beautiful. And I was at the very top. And as I'm leaving, this guy, and one thing to know about favelas is they often have security perimeters. They have a guy at the entrance who is just making sure you're there with good intentions, making sure you don't have a gun. And I think he said something, I surprised him because I came from inside, not from outside. I had a backpack on, and I think he said something to the effect of, hey, let me look in your bag. But I didn't know. I was like, I had my iPhone in my pocket. I'm like, everyone's warned me I'm going to get robbed. And so I just started walking. I was like, boa tarde, and like just kept walking and kind of ignoring what he was saying. Well, he comes around me with a gun, and points it at me. And the next thing I know, there's another guy with a gun. And I'm like, oh God, this is now, say goodbye to my phone. I'm like, this is where I actually get robbed. Everyone's warned me about it. Turns out he just wanted to look at my backpack, but it was a very like mortal fear moment to have a gun, two guns brandished at you, which I think was one of the first times I actually had someone threaten me with a gun.
Wow.
It wasn't like, he was kind of aiming it like this. He wasn't like, but he flagged me across my body with it. And he looked at my bag, didn't take my phone, didn't take anything. And he said, as I'm walking away, these two girls are laughing. They're like, you idiot, what are you doing walking through this favela? Like stupid tourist kind of energy. But, it certainly like calibrated me because I think I was being a little too bold. I don't think I had calibration for what could happen.
I see. Yeah, those places, they are in a way protected because, as you said, they know who is coming, who is leaving, and you should be careful because, as you said, he just wants to make sure that, you're just a tourist or you're just kind of lost. Right. Oh, yeah. Right, it's not the end yet. Let's play now the word association game, okay? I'm going to give away some words. Just tell one word that comes to your mind. Quick thinking, okay?
Okay.
So, I hope you are enjoying the interview. Before we do the word association game, don't forget to give a like, don't forget to share this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Just click on the button right there. Thank you so much and enjoy the word association game.
Okay.
Family.
Trauma. Because I deal with it all the time in my work. Sorry.
It's all right. It's all right. Not right or wrong. Just what comes to your mind. One word for money.
Money, freedom.
Okay. One word for life.
Life experience.
Sex.
Delicious.
Love.
Constraints.
Politics.
Mess.
Religion.
Calcified thought forms.
Okay. Fear.
Fear. Supposed to be fast. Fear, I would say, density.
Friendship.
Treasure.
Desire.
Inner voice.
Regret.
Useless.
Success.
Roll your own.
Wish.
Make your own. Wish. Granted.
Happiness.
Happiness. Expansion.
One word for USA.
One word for USA. Empire.
One word for Rio de Janeiro.
Jungle City.
Brazil.
Funny, I think Brazil, like another United States.
And the last one now.
It's like a twin. I feel like it's a twin, a brother, a sibling.
Wow. And the last one now. Coach. One word.
Coach?
Yeah.
Oh, reflection.
Okay. Let's pretend now I'm going to meet your boyfriend for a coffee, and I'm going to ask him, what is the most beautiful thing about Eric, and what's something that he still needs to work on, to improve on? What he would say?
That's sneaky. Well, he said this before. He said I'm like one of the most exciting, fascinating people he's hung out with. You know, he just, like, reality is very different with me. He gets to see a lot of things he's never seen before. But I think also, you know, I can be maybe, like, what's the word? Bullheaded, you know, like when my intuition says something's right for me, like I'm not so open to swaying my opinion sometimes on that. You know, like, people can butt their heads against me, but when I'm clear, I'm clear. And that can be frustrating for him sometimes, because he, you know, if he's trying to pressure me or trying to advocate for me doing a certain path and it's not what feels right for me, then, you know, it bugs him. It bugs him.
So Brazilian. I'm joking. Let's play now, Eric and the Magic Box, and you can ask me a question. Okay, but actually, before you ask me a question, tell me, what is your favorite Brazilian word? Sorry, your favorite Portuguese words.
I think of it as Brazilian. It's funny. It really, because Brazilians have taken Portuguese and made it their own language. I would say it's oh, wait a second. Give me a second, because there's so many good words.
Sure.
I kind of like bacaya. Bacana. Bacana. Is that right?
Bacana.
Bacana.
So funny when you said bacana.
I think, but it's not a word I use that much. I think the word I use all the time is just bomb. You know, bomb. I would also say the word that has replaced my, like, you know how sometimes like a foreign word will replace the word in your thoughts?
Mm-hmm.
The word that like the word maybe I don't use in English anymore. I now think, oh, talvez, talvez.
I
Like I'm
see.
saying that in my head all the time. When people are like, hey, let's do this, I'm like, talvez. It just feels smoother to me than maybe.
It's come more natural in Portuguese in a way. I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you can ask me a question now.
Well, the question I had in my head was you actually asked me. I wanted to know when you're in Londres, right? You're in London?
Yeah.
Okay. So, usually when you move to a culture, there's some medicine in that culture for you that you didn't get growing up. I'm curious what the Londonians, the Londoners taught you that was new and unique. You're like, oh, I need this. Like there's something that they've got that I need to learn. What was that?
Right. Very interesting question. And I'd say the first thing that came to my mind, and it's very simple, and it's such a difference of Brazilian culture. It's about timing. It's about, when they say about the English time, it's like just time, like right on time.
Yes.
I remember my first job in London. I will never forget that. I had a manager. She was Spanish actually, and I arrived late, as all Brazilians have this tendency of, you know what I mean, just come like
Yes.
very late, arrive late. Arrive kind of 10, 15 minutes. I never forget. She looked at me and said, William, I know Brazilian people, they are late all the time. But here in London, in England, people, they don't like that. You never can come late anymore. I was like, oh my God. I'm so glad that you told me that, because since that day, I'll tell you something now. Every single day, I arrive so early, like to work or to meet a friend or something. I'm always very, very early. And something that's London, the English culture, like taught me, because they are right on time, they are right on time. Time for them, like for example, if I'm going to meet someone, for them it's something so serious, something that they respect. So time is like a way of respect, a way of you show respect, not just like work or things that you need to do, but again, meeting a friend or even like going for a coffee or something, they are just like something very respectful. So it's something for me that I've learned like straight away. It's something that, I've got that. And I'm so grateful because actually a few years ago, I was reading I was reading something on the newspaper or magazine, I don't remember, but it said there that it was an article. It said, if you arrive 15 minutes earlier, you are already late. And they explain why. Because in those 15 minutes, so many things can happen. Because, you arrive at work, there's always something that's gonna, is gonna stop you for some reason. And you are rushing for you to get on time. So since I read that, I was like, oh my God, it makes all sense, because those 15 minutes, anything always can go wrong, or maybe you forgot something, or you didn't. There's always something behind, and it's so true. It's so true. So time management is something that the English culture brought to me and taught me, and I'm so grateful for that. So, yeah, that's something that I'm grateful. But overall, being in Europe, I left Brazil when I was 19. I lived in Portugal before I moved to England, and I think. Being in Europe, it has been like a long journey. It's been a beautiful journey, and such a different culture, from where I come from. Not right or wrong, just different. I think we have different ways of approaching life or expressing ourselves. Both have the pros and cons, the Brazilian culture and the English culture as well. But so yes, I would say time management, something that I learned like very fast. I learned very fast how to be on time.
Yeah, Germans are like that too. I prefer being on time too. It's nice because it's easier to synchronize.
Absolutely, you are relaxed somehow. When you are rushing, it's you don't relax. You don't think straight. You don't relax. It's just like you are in that mood of getting there or get yourself on time. So yes, it's just a way of approaching life. In Brazil, we are so laid back. I think you know already. You know already how the way we manage our time. It's not something bad. It's just different. Just for you living abroad or live in Brazil, when you come from another country, that you can understand the concept about time management.
Yes. That's great. Good to hear. That's kind of I was surprised. That's kind of a cool answer that I wasn't expecting.
Eric, did you enjoy the interview?
Yes, yes. I've got this weird background. Let me turn the background off. It's going to show you a little.
Oh, I like. Oh my God.
That's my little rooftop cabana with my hammock.
Oh my God, that's so nice. Oh wow.
Doing this to show you, just to give you a peek of Rio. There you go.
Oh my God, look at that view. Oh my goodness. Wow. Wow.
And my laundry. It's Santa Teresa, you know.
Santa Teresa. Oh wow, amazing. Oh, look the view. My goodness. Wow. Amazing. Oh. Eric, thanks so much for the interview. And also, before you go, I'd like to tell something. I think I'm so fascinated. I always feel so happy when I see someone from another country, you know, live in Brazil, or I spend some time in Brazil and get to know our culture. I think I feel very, very fascinated when you see someone like you, like exploring around and just, you know, gain a new culture, you know, having this moment. Those things you never buy, something living the way you are living right now. It's something that you can gain that just being there. You know, you could go as a tourist, you have a different concept, but when you are there, and I'm so fascinated to see, you know, you going around and express yourself and, you know, exploring different parts of Brazil, and not just that, but our culture overall. So yeah, it's fascinating. Good luck there. I hope that you know, that you learn more and more. And when I come to Brazil, I might see you sometime there to say hello or something. Yeah,
too.
I will let you know. And but before you go, if you can share a positive message, something that you live by.
A positive message. I would say it's all baked in. You know, you have when people think of their cell phones, and it's connected to the internet, they have an understanding of all the different things they could accomplish with that cell phone. And the cell phone itself is interesting, but what's really interesting is the endless amount of information that's at the fingertips. And I feel like the human is built the same way. You know, we are these standalone cell phones, but we have an internet connection that downloads everything. So whatever you're wanting to do in life, wherever you're wanting to go, if you turn inside and there's some skill to it, learning how to talk to yourself, but everything downloads, you know, everything. You know, if you're not busy blocking it or turning off the message or telling yourself you can't do it, the download just happens all the time. So if you're listening to that, it'll take you wherever you want to go.
Amazing.
The other thing would be, you know, listen to your soul to figure out where you want to go, because if you're attuned to what that still small voice inside you is asking for, and not so much attuned to what everyone tries to get your ego into, you know, like, you need this car, you need it. I mean, maybe you can have the car, but there's something a little bit more real on the internal voice that's not so much what we've been taught to want, but it's what we really, really feel we want. And if you're listening to that, stuff just comes through like this. Like, the download is fast and brilliant. So that would be my message.
Oh, thanks so much. Muito obrigado.
Muito obrigado. Muito obrigado.
Take care, okay? Good regards to your boyfriend, and you keep in touch. It was a pleasure, Eric. Thanks so much.
All right.
Take care. Bye-bye. Okay. Ciao, ciao. So, did you like the show? Don't forget to give a like, share it, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to be part of the show as well, first, subscribe to our channel, and after that, just go to our website, www.williamandthemagicbox.com, and send us a request saying why would you like to be part of the show. And I see you there. Bye-bye. See you next time.